Welcome to Family Care Navigators, the podcast where we empower you with the knowledge, support, and resources to navigate the challenging yet rewarding journey of caring for your loved ones. I'm Bill.
And I'm Stephanie.
We are thrilled to be your guide on this journey.
Together, we'll explore the emotional, practical, and logical aspects of caregiving, from hiring the right help to choosing the best care facility and everything in between. Whether you're a seasoned caregiver or just starting out, this podcast is here to provide you with valuable insights and heartfelt stories that resonate.
Let's dive in and navigate this journey together.
So today we have the awesome privilege of having with us Amy Morehead, who is the dementia hero. And I absolutely love that title for her because she has walked this journey of Alzheimer's with her family, but she's also a nurse practitioner, and so she's walked it with patients. So she's seen it from both sides. And today we are honored to have with us Amy Morehead. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really an honor. It's an honor to be on your podcast. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's great. Well, tell us your story. Tell us how you got involved in all of this.
I'm Amy Morehead. I'm a family nurse practitioner. Been a nurse practitioner for 20 years now. Most of that time has been in family practice, also in the ER and urgent care settings. In family practice, most of my population has been geriatric. During that time, as you can imagine, there's plenty of dementia and Alzheimer's and questions around all that and questions around brain change in general. How do we handle this? How do we deal with this? And so I spent a number of years treating it and referring for neuropsych testing and neurology. And it wasn't until 2017 that I was on the other side of that exam table. I was now the family. And so my mother started having brain change, not knowing what was going on, and there's this big question mark. So you go through the whole evaluation. And so she had Alzheimer's. When the time came and she was no longer able to live independently, she moved in with us. So she lived with us for 5 years during this, what I call the dementia gap, time between independent living and the need for long-term care. And I found that within this gap, there was very limited resources. It was crickets for me. And even though I was in the medical world, I could navigate the medical world pretty well. And all the knowledge I had for dementia and brain change and Alzheimer's did not help me in those moments. I didn't know what to do late at night. There's someone in the room that I can't see, but she can. I need help navigating this moment. And there's no medical book that ever talked about this. There's no medical training that I ever had that helped me with this. How do I walk my way through these moments? When she couldn't recognize how to use a fork or what a fork was, or how to initiate the process of brushing your teeth, these simple ADLs, where's the starting point for me to know how to help her? And so I lived in this world of this dementia gap, and I found ways to get through. And I actually was able to find a great way to connect with her and help her with all these ADLs. It took me a while to, pull up my bootstraps and get my big girl panties on and figure out how to do this. And I did. And so now that I'm on the other side of this, Mom passed in 2022, my prayer was that no one else would feel the way that I felt alone in those moments, not knowing how to respond, that I was reacting. So my prayer was to help other people through my struggle. And so that's where I developed Dementia Hero. You can become the hero of their story. You can become the savior within that home base, that within that dementia gap. And you can help walk them through these layers of brain change that they're going to experience, because you don't have that brain change. You're able to respond wisely to these moments and not react. You can pull back that impulse control and you can respond wisely. You have to gain that impulse control again and calm your mind and calm yourself to be able to respond wisely and not react, which is something that they've lost. So that's why I developed Dementia Hero. And I became an advocate for the Alzheimer's Association as well, because I saw the need for change, for research, drug development, because I went back to practice, after Mom's passing, and all these new drugs, being developed for diabetes, for heart failure, for hypertension. And And it seems like a couple of times a year, a new drug class pops up for those, and it's exciting, and all this movement going in these diseases. It's just crickets when it came to brain change, dementia, Alzheimer's. There was no new developments. Why? It was 21 years since the development of the last medication to treat Alzheimer's until Leqembi was released. 21 years of silence. Why does that happen? I decided to be an advocate for Alzheimer's Association. So we go to DC and we petition for policy changes and for research and for development of more medications for treatment.
That's so exciting. And you are correct. I didn't realize that it had been 21 years since any new medication had come out. It's my understanding that the previous medications only controlled the symptoms, but
Correct.
didn't necessarily get to the root problem, which is the overgrowth of the protein.
Yeah, correct. So Aricept, Exelon, Namenda, those are the big hitters, the big players that we've had for the past 21 years. And they are there to help with symptoms only, symptomatic control. They do not slow the progression of a disease at all. That is a misnomer. You hear that a lot thrown around, but it doesn't slow anything down. And about 20 to 30% of patients find those medications effective. Not everybody does. So it's trial or error on whether you're going to see some benefit from that. Now, Leqembi actually targets the amyloid plaques that is the troublemakers, the tau proteins and the amyloid plaques within the brain that causes the brain change that we see within Alzheimer's specifically. And so that's what Leqembi targets, to try to rid that. And so it's in clinical trial right now. And I really hope this will be our saving grace that we need. But knowing that we're on the right path to have treatment targeted at the actual problem. Now, the reason why amyloid plaques developed in the first place, we still don't know that. We don't know. So, but it is exciting to see some changes now.
Absolutely. You kind of concentrate your approach on mindfulness, correct?
Correct.
Can you explain what that means? Because I've been in the caregiving world. My mother lived with us for 6 years. We've took care of my husband's mother that lived with us who had some brain issues. That being mindful is a very big deal. So talk to us about that.
So mindfulness was one of those words that didn't mean much to me before. You would hear it, it's kind of hokiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't put much thought into it until I needed it. Mindfulness is being present in the present moment. In this very moment, I'm talking with you and I'm thinking just about our conversation at the moment. Our minds are time travelers. We travel to the past, and I could right now be thinking about how I messed up a dinner last night and I should have browned the chicken differently opposed to burning the chicken. And I wish it would have tasted better. In the same time as I'm speaking with you, I could be thinking about this, or I could be time traveling to the future, foreseeing what tomorrow may hold and what appointments I need to make and get to, or trouble that could be coming tomorrow that I could be worried about. This comes into play with being a caregiver because our mind will travel. So say I walked into mom's room and we're going to get ready for the morning. And I may not be present in the present moment. My mind might not be on helping her choose this or that between her shirts that she's going to wear for the day and getting her shirt off and helping her put her own shirt back on. I could be thinking about mobility issues she might have later on in the day when we get to the doctor's office and I'm pulling the car up to the curb and she's going to put her foot on the curb and she's going to fall. I'm not sure. Where am I going to put the walker? All these things could be going through your mind while you're helping her the simple task of putting her shirt on. And if my mind's over here, I'm going to be impatient when she's taken so long putting that darn shirt on. And I'm going to notice that I'm going to react impulsively just putting the shirt on myself and just getting it done with just to get on with the morning because I'm worried about mobility at the doctor's office is already on my brain. And when we do that, that can make them feel shunned. They may not be doing something well enough, good enough, fast enough for us, and instills insecurity in them. And then it kind of does some fractures to our relationship as well, the trust factor. So it does really affect that relationship when we react instinctively to things opposed to responding. You're able to respond when you're in the present moment. And you just take a deep breath, you push everything else down, all the other thoughts that you have down, and focus on just helping her put her shirt on. That's all you're worried about at this moment. But you're allowing her to do it. And you're going to be patient while you're doing it because you're just enjoying the time with her. You're not worried about anything else.
I discovered that, unfortunately, a little later in our caregiving journey with Mother, probably year 4, closer to year 5, because she would say to me, I know I'm not as fast as you are. I know it's going to take me longer. Just let me do it though. And I would be like, no, because you have 5 other things that you have to do and get it done. Finally, one day it just clicked and it was like, oh, wait, let her do what she can do and don't make her feel this way because she is feeling some kind of way. She is feeling, and it was causing a breach. And so you're right. Having that, I don't know, that time where you just bring yourself into that moment is just, it can change your relationships. It can absolutely, it can solidify, it can make it so much better if we will just get control of our emotions, really, and get control of our thoughts.
Yeah. At any one time, especially women, because we multitask in our brain, at any one time, we can have a number of thoughts at the same time. Like the example of my worried about her mobility issues later in the day. Also, at the same exact time, I can be thinking of, I've got 3 loads of laundry to do. I can also be thinking about my son didn't do the dishes this morning. He was supposed to do. I need to do the dishes before dinner gets here. So laundry, dishes, mobility, all like a ping pong ball in your brain, all these thoughts. And then the thing that you're actually there to do, you're not doing a well enough job because you're not fully focused on that and focused on making them feel appreciated. And they served a main purpose in this world. They served a purpose in this world, whatever kind of role they were in their life and their career and family development. We want them to still feel significant. That is a big thing throughout this brain change. They can feel insignificant, unimportant. And if we react instinctively, we really solidify that thought in their brain. And that's a horrible way to feel.
It really is. And I think that for me, I had to stop and say, oh my goodness, how does she feel? Let me put myself in her shoes. She had been the commander in chief in our home. I mean, although I had a wonderful, magnificent father, wonderful relationship all through our years, Mother, she was the commander in chief. She took charge and she wrangled all 7 of us and she managed all of us and all of our activities. And even as we were adults, she managed all of, she made sure that we all had good relationships. And, that was just her job. That was who she was. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, how different your life looks today because you are not able to do all of these things. And when I began to really put myself in her shoes and recognize what her reality is, it changes how you treat a person. It changes what you say to them, how you say it, the tone. I think that it is important when you are caring for someone that as caregivers, we take that into consideration in a practical way, not just in our minds, but being practical with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we really have to slow our mind down. It is slowing our mind down to be able to have those moments and enjoy those moments. I call it Narnia glasses. So I had to put on my Narnia glasses to be able to see the world from her viewpoint. What she was seeing, the world around her was different than what I was seeing. Perception of the floor below her. There is no hole in the floor. However, she saw a hole in the floor and she was afraid she was going to fall. I had to learn to put Narnia glasses on. And, if Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis, if you've read and seen and all that, that there's this whole other world through that wardrobe that everyone else can't see. And there's magic in that world, but there's also trouble in that world. And putting on my Narnia glasses to try to see what she was seeing really opened my eyes to first imagination. Just be childlike. Be childlike, have an imagination, and try to play along, because her brain is actually telling her that's true. Her brain is telling her that is true. She's not making this up. And so I need to see what her brain is showing her. My husband had a really hard time learning to use Narnia glasses because it's black or white. It is or it's not. That's it. No, it's not. It's not quite like that. So it was difficult for him to wear those Narnia glasses and see the world from her viewpoint. So he's like, you're a saint to be able to do that and to see what she's seeing and talk the same, as if something is there when it's really not. And well, it's kind of like having a childlike mind. We're told to have a childlike mind. And that was really helpful to wear those glasses,
Absolutely. Well, what about helping them maintain their independence? How do we help them? Because the fact of the matter is they do need help, but at the same time, they want to feel independent, correct?
They do. Sure. Because they've been independent all their lives.
Right.
Like your mom raised 7 kids. She was in charge. She was the CEO of that household.
Absolutely.
I mean, she was very independent.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was very independent. She grew up in the feminist era and she marched and burned her bra and she doesn't need a man and this whole feminist movement. And she was very independent and very strong. To be able to maintain the longest amount of time you can stay independent in your home, the better.
Mm-hmm.
And so creating a dementia-friendly environment. They're not going to be able to do this for themselves. They are not going to be able to do this. So you're going to have to do this for them. Whoever their loved one in their life that is partnering with them for care will be the one to create this dementia-friendly environment. There's actually dementia-friendly interior design concepts, like interior designing just for dementia and brain change. It's kind of exciting to see those that are aging in place. Removing any hazards like the rugs, the cords, the clutter, having ample space to get around, walking space, plenty of walking space. No trip hazards, no throw rugs on the ground. Throw rugs look amazing. I love them, but they got to go. And not having stuff in the walkway, clear ways to get through. So you're preventing a fall, because a fall will make it questionable on whether they can be independent based on how they respond to that fall, what was injured, fall prevention. Improving the lighting. You want bright lighting in the room, no shadows and no dark spots on the floor, because dark spots on the floor may look like a hole to their brain and they're fearful they're going to fall, and they may trip and fall on a flat surface because they think there's a hole right in front of them. So no shadow. Walk-in tub if all possible. A walk-in shower or a walk-in tub if possible. Grip bars in the bathroom. They're easy to install. Grip bars in the bathroom.
Absolutely. The best. The best.
Yeah. The most injuries always happen in the bathroom. So slipping, falling on the floor.
Well, what about, I know with some of our friends that have dealt with Alzheimer's and dementia with their parents, it was the difficult behaviors. They become agitated. They become angry. What do you tell people?
Yeah, so behaviors. We call it behaviors, and they're expressing to us they're uncomfortable, or they have unmet needs, or they're in distress for some reason. So finding out what is the cause of the reason for them expressing this to us. They may not be able to say the words that this sleeve is rubbing up against my arm and it's making me itchy. They may not be able to verbalize that to you. And it may be they just become irritable and upset. Or maybe they're having pain. Where's the pain from? Did they have a fall a few days ago and maybe their hip is hurting them? They may not be able to verbally tell you these things that they're having pain, and it may come out as being mean or rude or hurtful words. So finding out the reason for the agitation, you're looking at things in their environment, you're looking at how they're spending their time. Are they bored? Are they engaged? Are you actively engaging them in different activities throughout the day? Or do they have something to engage them in their room? So if they were a teacher, is there a chalkboard and chalk? Letting them feel and act out their life that they used to live in. Allow that to continue. If they loved raising babies, there are lifelike baby dolls and cribs. Put that in their room. Give them something to do with their day. A desk. Say they were a lawyer, or they're a secretary. They were sitting at a desk and a cup of pencils, maybe a calendar on the wall, what they're used to seeing before. Incorporate that into their design of their room or their house to allow them to feel engaged in something and purposeful still. It is when you see these behaviors, that's when you're going to become a detective. And it can be difficult to figure that out, but know that they're expressing something to you. Now I need to figure out what that something is.
And so, do you find that it is harder for families? I've had some of my friends say, Mom was never like this. Like they were never angry. They were never verbally abusive. They were never malicious or any of those things. And then they get dementia or Alzheimer's, and they are. I have been told, and I don't know because this is not my field, don't argue with them. Don't engage that type of behavior. Is that what you recommend?
During different stages, they will likely feel, could be paranoid, could be someone stolen my jewelry.
Yes.
I had my ring right here and now it's gone. And since you're an easy target, you're there, you stole it. And so blaming people around them. When something like that occurs, not taking it personally, stepping away, taking a big deep breath, not thinking in your mind, she's blaming me for something I didn't do. Just take a deep breath. You can engage her in that conversation. And if she's worried about that ring, okay, tell me what the ring looks like. And you can talk about the value of that ring, what that meant to her, like who gave it to her, and this whole conversation. And she's probably going to be able to tell you everything about that ring. And then you can carry that into another conversation of, I can't imagine when you first got married, that must have been wonderful. And that will lead into distraction, and that will help change their emotion about it as well. You can kind of dig into some of that, but you're able to kind of be in charge of that conversation as long as you're not reacting, but you're responding wisely. And know that they're not doing this on purpose, because their brain is tricking them.
And it really is not them. It's not the person that you've known all of your life. You have to kind of take that step back and say, if her brain was not failing, she wouldn't act like this.
You know, I really wish they would rebrand, if that's a way to say it in the medical world, rebrand the word dementia, call it brain failure.
Oh, I agree.
If you think about kidney failure, you think about heart failure, think about liver failure, you can think in your mind, okay, well, kidney failure, they might not be able to produce urine, they might need dialysis. You kind of have an idea of what that means. Heart failure, heart's your pump. You might not be able to pump blood. You might have swelling in your feet. You might not be able to breathe too well. Know what heart failure kind of means, right? So if they rephrase this, rebrand it to brain failure.
Yes.
Okay, well, what all does my brain do for me? Okay, so those cells are dying. Like she doesn't have as many cells as she used to, and it's actually shrinking. And then the prefrontal cortex is the first one hit. And prefrontal cortex it controls your impulse control. It controls logical thinking. It controls the ability to make a choice, this or that. Controls the ability to see something from someone else's perspective, as well as their own perspective of what they're doing, and the ability to initiate tasks, the ability to initiate brushing their teeth, to start a process, it's sequencing that our prefrontal cortex does. So if you've ever raised teenagers, you know that prefrontal cortex is void. Like there's
Correct.
not movement going on there. The logical thinking, the impulse control, all that. You can
Yes.
kind of think about what that's like with a teenager. Okay, well, it's not that much different. So you can kind of think about some of those things when you see behaviors, or if you see you're in a situation where you feel like you're being blamed for something, take a step back and realize all of that.
When you are a caregiver, I think that it is sometimes more difficult to take a step back. I had a ability to hire a lady to come in and help me with my mother periodically. And one day she looked at me and she said, "It is time." This was toward the end of my mother's life. And she said, "It's time for you to step back and be the daughter and let me be the caregiver." She said, "Because one day you'll wish that you had." And I was, at first I was like, "Oh, well, of course you're the caregiver. I mean, of course I'm the daughter." But I quickly realized what she meant. And it was, honestly, it was liberating for me to go back to being a daughter instead of the caregiver all the time. When we do get help as caregivers, I think embracing that help and not trying to control is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're there for. If you get help and we lead them in a path to get help so that they don't have to do this 24 hours a day, allow someone to do it.
Allow them to do that. Yeah. And with caregivers, with us, the family, control is a huge issue. Control from the very beginning, because we want to control the diagnosis of this to begin with. We don't want this to be the diagnosis. So we try to control it, and we don't accept it. Majority of us don't accept it at the very beginning. We deny it. It's denial. And so we're fighting against this disease that is hidden within the person we love, which can come out feeling as if we're fighting against them when we're really battling this idea that they have this disease and the whole diagnosis. So, the opposite of acceptance is denial, and denial leaves a place for misery to grow. And so when we do deny what's going on, we limit our ability to have a joyful experience throughout this whole disease course, because there is joy. There can be joy and heartache at the same exact time. It can coexist. But if we're battling and denying and fighting, we're not going to have any joy at all. And so the key at the very beginning is acceptance, and acceptance is giving up control. You're giving up your ability to control this disease because you can't control it. You're making peace with the diagnosis and finding joy in those moments. Throughout the whole disease course, our ability to control things is what we have to, our relationship with our control is a battle in our own mind that we have to solve as we walk along this. And like when we do hire someone, okay, I have another issue with control here. I need to figure out where do I need to decrease and increase my ability to control this. We have a hard time with that. We really do.
And I think that caregivers, they are really caught between a rock and a hard place, because most caregivers, the person that they are caring for, that's not the only person that they are caring for. They have families, they have spouses, children, in-laws, they have jobs, all of these things. And I love that you have the ability to help them and walk them through this and help them to navigate. How do you have joy during this, even though your heart is broken? There's no two ways about that. You can't deny that. But at the same time, let me teach you how to have joy and help you to have joy. So I love that that is part of what you do. The other thing that you talk about is creative arts with those that have dementia. even as a caregiver, creative arts was important for me. So, talk to us about the creative arts side because there is a correlation there in helping
Yeah.
them.
So we're going to go back to brain failure again, right? So there's two parts of your brain. When you split it in half, you have a left and you have a right. Your left side of your brain is your language, your logic, your analytical thinking. The right side of your brain is the art side, the music side, the rhythm side, the social chit chat side. When we start into dementia or Alzheimer's and with brain change like this, the left side is much more affected than the right. So the left side is going to have a lot of change. The right is going to stay pretty much intact until the late stages. So the ability to love music and love art, rhythm, being able to tap into their ability to rhythm and dance. They might not be able to walk too well with their walker, but if they hear a song from the 1962, they might be able to dance to that song. That rhythm is alive and well in them. Their ability to have imagination, that's alive and well too. So knowing what's retained, the abilities retained on that right side of the brain and tapping into that. And you're able to find connection with them. You're able to find when you do one-on-one activities with them, you can connect with them in a way that brings joy for both of you and not relying on memory, but you're opening up this freedom of imagination when you walk into the arts side of the world, because there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer in arts.
That's right.
So if you're doing a creative storytelling activity with them, so say you show them a picture. It can be any picture from a magazine that you see, and they can be the storytellers. And you can start them to prod them with questions of, what do you think? What do you think's going on here? Oh, interesting. I like that. Okay, what do you think they're feeling here? Oh, I like that. And this can go on for quite some time, and this can lead into other conversations as well. It's not reliant on their ability to remember something. Asking them beautiful questions instead of, we typically, when we want to have a connection, we base everything on memory. Do you remember that time we went to the
true.
beach? Do you remember that concert we went to and it was so fun? Do you remember when we're having a connection with someone, you don't realize this until you think about your conversations. We base it all on memory.
Mm.
So moving away from memory and moving into imagination. This goes back to a childlike mind. The question may be, if you were a bird, what song would you sing? Simple question. But it opens up for them to go into their imagination and think of a song that they may love, and they may be able to sing it for you or hum it for you.
Hmm.
And then maybe you can play it on the Bluetooth speaker you have, from your phone. You can play the song. This can be a whole afternoon of fun and enjoyment and joy. So using the arts to find ways to really tap into that brain and connect with them. And they feel valued. They feel they have purpose. They're adding purpose to the world. Because everywhere they turn, they're being corrected. They're being corrected because they're doing things the wrong way. They're not doing things quick enough, and that could be the wrong answer to the question. But there's freedom in arts.
Mm-hmm.
There's freedom in that, and they're able to have an imagination. And then when you allow yourself to have more of a childlike mind and have some imagination as well, and you let down all those other thoughts from the day, the laundry, the dishes, the mobility, all the whatever's in your brain, like a ping pong ball, let it go and just enjoy that moment. And you're going to notice that was really fun for me. Like,
Right.
I'm enjoying this. Now I feel joyful.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So it brings joy to both of you. So this disease process is a very long course, and you need to be able to find moments of joy for both of you.
Mm. I think that's vital.
Yeah, and creative arts is a great way to do it. I talk quite a bit about improv as well. If you think about improv, and there was the show, I don't know if it was in the 90s or 2000s, of Whose Line Is It Anyway? right? Is that the name of this? I think this is the name of the show, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Something silly. Like one person may say, there's a gorilla climbing down from the ceiling. Then it goes to the next person is supposed to add onto that, say yes, and they're wearing a yellow scarf. And the next person adds to that, yes, and they're going to come for dinner. The next person may say, yes, and we're going to serve him. And it goes on and on and on. And it feels so silly to do improv. It feels silly until you start using it within dementia care.
Mm.
When there's a person in the corner of the room that you can't see, but it's starting to scare the one living with dementia. They see a person you don't. Yes, and okay, they're wearing. Yes, I can see him. You know what? I think he's lost. I'm going to show him to the door, and then you do the process, the whole motions of showing the person to the door, the imaginary person, until you're playing along. And you find ways to use improv throughout your care, your dementia care, because they're going to see things, think things that are not your reality, but it's their reality. You take the reality given to you and you say, yes, and you add to it.
I love that. I don't know that I've ever really heard anyone describe it that way. So I do love that because I think that it gives you some freedom. Because I think that's the other thing that caregivers are always concerned about. Am I doing this right? Am
Yeah,
I
of course.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm making so many mistakes. I should have done something differently, so
Mhm.
forth and so on. And there does have to be a point where there is freedom. You're
Mhm.
doing the very best that you know to do. If you knew to do better, you would. If you knew to do different, you would. But at this
Mhm.
point, this is what you know. And so I love the fact that you give them the freedom to go along with it, and to just walk in that world for a few minutes and be
Mhm.
there with them. That's vital, in my opinion. There is so much more that we could do for this conversation, and I know that our time is running low, but I just want to know two other things. Number one, if a caregiver is feeling completely lost and distraught,
Mhm.
what's one thing that you would recommend first and foremost that they do?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. It starts with their own mind. It is a heavy toll to maintain your own sanity in your own mind when you're caring for someone who is losing theirs.
Mm,
So that's a huge responsibility to hold. So give yourself grace. Give yourself some grace, first of all. There's no hard and fast rules here, right? There's no black and white. There's all gray area here.
mhm,
So giving yourself some grace, and a way that you responded to a question that you had 5 minutes ago, guess what? It's probably going to come up again. If you think you didn't respond the right way, come up with a fresh new response, whatever it could be, whatever gives that person joy. There is something called therapeutic fibbing. It's not lying. I don't call it lying. It's therapeutic fibbing. If telling them the truth about something is going to cause a catastrophic reaction in that person,
mhm,
was that the best decision to make in that moment?
mm,
Or is there another decision I could make and use some therapeutic fibbing that I will allow them to be comfortable in the moment and to feel joy?
mhm.
Because I'm worried about their feelings. I'm worried about their safety. How do I do that the best way? So instilling some therapeutic fibbing. So give yourself some grace. No reality orientation. Don't reorient them to your reality because that's no longer their reality. You all are seeing two different things here. So putting on the Narnia glasses and seeing their reality, seeing the world from their viewpoint.
Mhm.
It takes a lot of imagination on your part to be able to do that. But once you're able to see things from their eyes, from their viewpoint, it makes a world of a difference the way that you respond to them and the language you use with them and how you may slow everything down for them. Your language, your speech, your movements. once you realize that.
Mm-hmm. Well, this has been absolutely amazing. I am so thankful that you agreed to be on the podcast today. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, Amy, what's the very best way that you would recommend?
DementiaHero.com is my website. My email is notalone@dementiahero.com.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And she has great resources on her website. Please go and check that out because I think it will be extremely helpful for them. So once again, thank you, Amy Morehead with Dementia Hero, for being with us today. We are just so very, very appreciative for all of the information.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for hosting me. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Family Care Navigators. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and empowering. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Our community is here to support you every step of the way.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with others who might benefit. Visit our website and follow us on social media for more resources and updates. Until next time, stay strong, stay compassionate, and keep navigating with love. I'm Bill.
And I'm Stephanie.
Take care and see you soon.